Hey there, this is Dane, aka Sherpa from featherprop.com.
And I'm Brian from the Great Lakes Backpacker channel.
We just got off the Beartooth, I got off
The beaten path.
the beaten path in the Beartooth Mountain Range here in Montana. And this is a trip that we had been planning like 9 months ago. We started to work on. So we thought we'd do is make a video to provide some information from our experiences so that if you're trying to plan this trip, you might find this information useful, because some of the information that we were looking for wasn't readily available. So I'm going to start off with, I'll ask Brian a question. We're hammockers, so we wanted to hang our hammocks every night. Brian did some work about that, and I'll ask you, Brian, just to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so like Dane said, we wanted to use our hammocks on this trip, and Dane had actually corresponded with someone on a forum somewhere, and he mentioned that we need to be careful because there were certain areas where we're going to be above tree line, and the trees for using hammocks would be like non-existent. And so one of the things I did was to use Google Maps and zoom in as close as I could on the landscape. And using Google Maps was really helpful because zooming in like that real tight, you can tell where the tree line starts and stops and what might be useful for backpacking and for using your hammocks out on the trail. So that we found that really helpful. We kind of had a general idea of where we weren't going to be able to use our hammock, but like I said, using Google Maps, zooming in, we picked out a spot. Anywhere past this, we're not going to be able to use our hammocks, and I think it panned out to be exactly that on the trail. So we found that to be very helpful.
And there were some campsites that didn't have trees available for hanging, wasn't there?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you're planning on hammocking, you want to just know what sites you're going to go to, because not all of them have trees to hammock from. So also want to talk about the trail itself. It's about 26 miles long. I would describe it as difficult. I mean, it's not a technical climb, a technical hike.
I would say moderate to difficult, because there were definitely spots that were not hard to get through and weren't very tiring, but there were some spots that you got your lungs a workout and your legs. So
right, it peaks out at about 9,900,
almost just shy of 10,000.
10,000 feet. Yeah. It's not. There's no blazes on this trail. There's no markings near Cook City where we started from. There were a few signs when we initially started, but we didn't see anything else about trail markings.
No.
So you need to have a map and locate yourself by lakes as you go through.
Yeah, like Dane said, they didn't have right at the beginning from Cook City. We did have a couple side trails, and they did have like a small sign there that indicated this was a different trail. But after that, we really didn't see much. And also, when you're coming up to these lakes, you would think there'd be maybe a small sign saying, "Hey, this is Rainbow Lake" or whatever. And we never saw anything like that. So, like Dane said, make sure you have a map. Something. This is what we use on the trail. It's one of the National Geographic ones, and it's actually for this, area. And we found that to be really helpful for locating ourselves on the trail.
One question that I had that I couldn't, it took me a while to get answered, was could we take our alcohol stoves? Out east where I hike from Pennsylvania, I use alcohol stoves all the time, but I didn't know if the altitude would be a problem here. And we both brought alcohol stoves, and they worked fine. We had no issues with them. They burned.
Right.
Just like they do back home, so that was not an issue at all.
I've played around with mine at home, and I don't know what elevation I'm at home, but it's like hundreds of feet. And I used the alcohol stove last year when we were hiking in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, and it wasn't this high. I don't think we topped out anything more than upper 4,000. Didn't have any problem there, and I didn't have any problem here. It burned just like it did here, like it did at home, so I didn't notice any problem with the alcohol stoves, if that's what you're using as an option.
Yeah, seems to work okay. What about rain gear? What do you suggest?
Rain gear, yeah. It's probably a good idea to bring something. What we heard before we even got here was expect rain. You're in the mountains. It's not uncommon to get a 10-15 minute rain period almost every day. And that kind of held true for the most part for us. On Thursday, our first day, we did get some rain, and we did have to put our pack covers on and our rain jackets. And it started off kind of light, but then it did come down heavier, and then it actually lasted for longer than I thought it would. It was more than a 10 or 15 minute rain. And we were able to get into camp, set things up, and then it came down again. And then it stopped for the night. And then yesterday, which was Friday, We did experience a little bit of rain. It was very light, but it was enough that we put our raincoats on and our pack covers on. But it was nothing like we had on Thursday. So do expect some rain up here in the mountains and prepare accordingly. Like I said, if you just want a rain jacket, that worked for me. If you bring a poncho, that's good. I didn't bring rain pants, and I don't think I needed them. Even on the day that was raining fairly heavy, my pants didn't really get wet. So that's something for you to decide what you want. But I would definitely consider some kind of raincoat or rain poncho.
I took trail runners, not boots. Brian wore boots. I wore trail runners. They performed fine. No issues here at all. We did have some stream crossings, but all of the stream crossings that we hit, we were able to rock hop across, or they had some bridges. I think across 2 to 3 bridges, something like that. The rest was just rocks and logs, but we never got our feet wet. But I understand different times. By the way, we started August 24th, 2017. This was a 3-day, 2-night hike. So, of course, it's going to vary as to when you hike. This was a perfect time in my book. I mean, I understand the mosquitoes just 10 days ago were horrible here. We had no issues with mosquitoes at all.
Yeah, the lady we talked to on the trail said, we were talking about the experience in general, and then about bugs and that kind of stuff, and she had mentioned something about mosquitoes, and she said that she knew someone had been out here just 10 days before that, and she described the mosquito situation as biblical. So even up to just about 10 days ago, it was really crazy here for mosquitoes, and we really didn't have any problems at all. I think Thursday night, our first night in camp, they were a little pesky around camp, but then when the temperature dropped, they kind of disappeared. And then again, last night, there was just a couple around, but it was even less than the night before.
In fact, I don't think we even used any repellent.
No,
not at all.
We both brought some, but we never even took it out of the backpack. So.
I'd recommend hat, sunglasses, and probably some sunscreen, because you are above the tree line in the sun, so certainly want to remember those.
Yep.
I'll ask Brian to say something about the itinerary for a second. We did do it in 3 days, 2 nights, and Brian really sort of helped figure out our itinerary for this hike, and if you want to just talk about how we did it.
Yeah, so we at least had like a base itinerary from someone that you had talked to online, and kind of gave us some general guidelines to go by. And so I did a lot of playing around and tried to, I had the map ahead of time, so I looked at the map and the mileages and tried to figure out how far we wanted to go each day and lay things out. And then, of course, there was a little bit more restriction for us because we were using hammocks, so we couldn't just, for instance, we couldn't have gone all the way to Fossil Lake and expect to throw a hammock up because there's nothing up there to hang it from. There's no trees. So with that in mind, we had to kind of work around it. And so the way we did this trail was we started at Cook City at the Clarks Fork Trailhead. And we got a late start, a little later than we thought, but we were kind of gawking at the beautiful scenery on the Beartooth Highway, which if you get a chance to do this trail, you got to go take a drive down the Beartooth Highway. But anyways, we started a little bit later than we thought. We started right around 11 o'clock or so. And initially we had planned to make it all the way out to Dewey Lake, which on our first day would have been about 12.5 miles, but since we got the late start, we didn't do that. We ended up our first night at Lake Ozell, which is about 7 plus miles in, and we stayed there. And then the following morning and afternoon, we hiked all the way out to Rainbow Lake, which was about a 12.5 mile day or so, and we camped there. And then today, we hiked out, which was about another 7.5, 7 3/4 miles. So that was the way we broke our trip down.
And the advantage going the direction that we did is significant, in my opinion.
Yes.
Starting out at Cook City, which is sort of like the southwestern section of the trail, you're actually at a higher altitude. So you climb up to almost 10,000 feet, and then it's downhill for the rest of the trip. So we hit the peak the early part of the second day, and so from that point on, it was downhill the rest of the way, ending up somewhere around 6,000 feet. So I think you start out at eight don't quote me on this, 8,000 feet roughly at Cook City, and you climb from there, and then you descend down to 6,000. So, I mean, you can go either direction, but that was a nice hike for us, is to start at Cook City and then go northeast on the trail.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, people had said if you start at Cook City and you work your way towards East Rosebud, you go up and then the rest of it's downhill. Well, that's true in general, but just be advised that there are portions where we hit some switchbacks coming up, and we hit some stuff that gave us some workout with our lungs and our legs, but nothing that couldn't be done.
Right.
But coming from, we did hit some pretty gnarly switchbacks going down after we passed Rimrock Lake, I think.
Yeah.
There was some substantial switchbacks going down, and so if you're starting at East Rosebud and going towards Cook City, just be prepared for some strenuous hiking going up. But other than that, the way we did it was easily
Great.
doable.
Yeah.
And the funny thing we should maybe add is we did it the easy way. And partway through our day yesterday, we passed a father and son, and the son was only, 7, 8 years old. He said his son had been out here and hiked the trail with him when he was 6, and so this is maybe a year or two later, and they were coming from the hard direction. They started at East Rosebud and were going towards Cook City, and they weren't just doing a day hike, they were doing the whole thing. And then this morning, I think we saw a gentleman who was probably mid-60s, late 60s, by himself, no day pack, just a camelback on his back with some water, and he was starting at East Rosebud and going all day and ending tonight sometime at Cook City. So it is doable. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but just be aware if you start at East Rosebud and go the opposite direction, you're going to have some strenuous stuff in your future. One other thing you maybe want to keep in mind, and I'll let Dane discuss this one, is this is bear territory, and you need to be prepared for that. So.
Yeah. It's recommended that you take bear spray, Brian, if you would. A can of bear spray. Every hiker you encounter has got one of these strapped to their belt or in their pocket, something like that. And it's almost required. I mean, I don't know if it is, but this is bear country.
Right.
And
we're not just talking, little cuddly black bears. They got some serious bear stuff here. It's very dense in black bear and grizzly. So you definitely want to take your precautions. And, to add something to what you were saying about the bears, if that's the only thing that's going to keep you from hiking this trail, please, please, please don't let it deter you, because the whole time we were out here, we never saw any bear, not even from a great distance. We didn't see any signs of bears. We didn't see anyone or talk to anyone that mentioned anything about bears. And as a matter of fact, I think you or maybe both of us had heard beforehand that this is bear country, but along this trail, they really don't see them. So
that's what I heard, yeah. But you always want to be prepared, and so get the bear spray. It's called the beaten path because the path is well worn, and you will encounter a lot of traffic. Now, you get out there, there's a lot of solitude. You'll walk by yourself for a long time, but as you get near either the trailheads, you will encounter some more day hikers and things like that. But there is a significant amount of traffic, even though this is remote. You'll encounter people back and forth, different directions, and so that's kind of nice to know that there is some help out there in case you ever run into any or need any. Along those lines, we didn't find any cell coverage anywhere. We both have Verizon. I ran into a girl today. She said they had Verizon and AT&T, and they had no reception. So count on no reception from your standard conventional carriers out here.
And so I mean, if that is one of your concerns, just realize you don't get cell signal. But again, it's not undoable, or it's not impossible. Just rent maybe a spot satellite so that you can at least use something like that if you needed help. And like you said, if you do get hurt and you can't get out by yourself, there have been, I wouldn't say it's a crowded trail, but we've definitely come across quite a few people. So you're not out here by yourself, even for as remote as it is. Right.
With that, I mean, just get out to this trail. This is without a doubt one of the most remarkable trails I've ever been on. The scenery is just, I just ran out of superlatives. It's just beyond imagination.
Right.
And so we wanted to put this video out to provide some information that we were looking for. It took us a while to find. Thought we would put it together, make it out there, and perhaps if you're looking to make this trail one of yours, this will be helpful to you. Yep.
Like Dane said, I've run out of words to describe it, and if you watch my video when I get it finally all put together and posted on YouTube, I only have a couple words that I keep using, and it's just, I don't know how to describe it because it is just so breathtaking and stunning. And for everything you see in pictures and video, it's even more than that when you see it in person. It's just you feel small in the grand scheme of things.
Amazing.
You really do.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So I hope this video helps if you're planning a hike to the beaten path. Our contact information is below. You can follow links to Brian's website, also the video that he's putting together, as well as my website and the video that I'm putting together from this hike. So thanks for watching. This is Dane, aka Sherpa from featherprop.com.
And this is Brian from Great Lakes Backpacker.
We'll see you.